Yo, it's Dylan Kurosaki on the mic. Hey Mike. Yeah? It is time. Time for what? You know what? We are back with some scary shorts. Like I wear my shorts like this. Hi! You see my shorts? Aren't they beautiful? Yeah. Everybody. Let's have a little party. Together. Together as forever. And we are watching some shorts together as a community. And we watched it so very beautifully. Our butterfly up into the sky. And we'll soar off in the sky. Like we're out to Kuno. Yeah. We are reacting to some scary shorts. Let's go and do this. Hope you like those bars that I just dropped. Alright y'all, we're back with some more scary animations. And this one we're about to watch is made by I Am All Scary Tales. Here's your shout out. Shout out to I Am All Scary Tales. By your beautiful artwork. I love you for it. Let's do this. Yeah, Dylan Kurosaki loves your artwork. Alright, let me just turn off the light so we can get started. Are you ready for this? Let's have a little sister and let me look at all of your smiley faces. How you guys doing? Okay. Alright, let's do this. So this was called 3 Scary Footages Caught by Ring Doorbell Security Cameras. Alright. Okay, story 1.
This happened in recent times, and I'm still trying to recover from the trauma of it. I rented
like
an
the
apartment
music.
in a calm and quiet building. It was a 5-story
I
building.
like the scare
People
factor.
who lived there hardly talked to each other. The neighborhood where I live is also not in its best shape. Robberies, kidnappings.
Ah! That booty
Being a
though!
bartender in a local pub doesn't suffice me with a good number of choices where I can afford to live somewhere expensive at this point. That's why this apartment was the only roof over my head. I lived on the 3rd floor. In the exact opposite apartment lived a woman in her late 30s. Her name was Judy. She was a shy, good-looking woman, but everyone avoided her because of her ill-mannered mother. I have seen many cranky old people, but Miss Voorhees was like a cactus in a garden of flowers. She used to yell at Judy
That
all
would
day and all
he!
night. I could hear her shrill
Bars.
voice coming from their apartment.
I didn't ask for a salad. I said I wanted soup. Why didn't you wash my handkerchief? There's a yellow stain in it. How come you never hear me calling you? This is how you repay your mother? I regret the day I had you. No wonder you'll end up alone.
Oh,
matter how disgusting, Miss Judy took care of her at her old age. I could never hear a
She's
single
looking like
word.
Katie Featherston.
If one came
for
across her in the
Paranormal
hallway,
Activity.
she would just walk past like a robot without noticing the other person. The only time this poor woman got some recluse is in the evening. Every evening from 6 to 7 p.m., Miss Voorhees went for a walk, balancing her old body, holding a wooden cane. She never missed going on these walks, no matter how the weather changed. I remember, one time it was raining heavily, and Judy told her not to go. She screamed.
Of course! Why would you want me to stay fit? You'll be happy if I die tomorrow. Then it'll be easy for you to snatch my wealth.
She wore a
Okay.
pink raincoat and walked away with her
Don't
cane.
need to yell.
That 1 hour, I watched television. I
Enemy!
didn't make any sound for that entire 1 hour, as I wanted Judy to have some peace.
Hey!
I wanted her to
I
have
love
at
anime
least
too.
1 hour from her entire day where she can cherish the silence or cry silently. There was nothing anyone could do except watch Judy go through the same hell every day. One night, I came home from work. I was about to unlock
I
my
feel
door
bad for
when I
her.
heard Judy's voice
She's gonna
behind
go
me.
through that.
Thank you for being a quiet neighbor. It must be a horrible experience living next door to us. Not at all. It's good with me. I mean, I'm a heavy sleeper. I see. Before we could talk more, Miss Voorhees yelled from inside.
If you're done fooling around, then finish the dishes.
Judy's face became red with shame, and she closed the door. This
Wow,
woman
I feel really bad
is
for
such
her.
a pain in the ass.
I know, right?
She's driving her daughter crazy. While I was thinking all this, the door opened once again, and Miss Voorhees came out with her cane to go for her evening walk. She gave me a look of pure hatred and walked away. Things were going the same as usual when a robbery took place in one of the apartments on the first floor.
Okay,
It
that's
didn't shock
not
me, though,
good.
because that's how the neighborhood was, like I said already. Out of tension and panic, I decided to install a doorbell camera, just to be on the safe side. While attaching that, I came across Judy many times and told her to do the same. She gave me a sad smile and said, "My life is already ruined. Nothing else can make that worse." I exhaled a deep breath hearing this, and Judy went
I
inside,
feel bad for
locking
her.
her
She's
door
gonna
behind.
be going through that.
No one would have interfered in her life if not for this terrible incident that happened.
That guy's
After
cute
installing
though.
the doorbell camera, I developed a new habit. I don't know why. I liked keeping an eye on the screen and monitor the movements on the other side of my door. Because of the camera,
This is like
I
Five
could now hear
Nights
Miss
at
Voorhees'
Freddy's.
voice even more clearly. Her yelling and cussing were more prominent to my ears. It was a rainy evening, and I could hear Miss Voorhees arguing with Judy about going on her usual walks. Suddenly, she became quiet, and I saw Judy come out of the apartment sobbing. She stood in front of my door, whimpering badly. Even though I watched her suffer like this, I didn't open up the door because that would have been more embarrassing for her. I stood
that's
silent
true.
and watched her on my screen.
It's hard to be there
Then she
for
went back to her
someone
apartment.
who's going through
I
that.
sat on my couch and expected to see that old witch leaving for her walk after putting her daughter through hell like usual. 5 minutes went by, an hour went by, and she didn't come out. I got up to go to bed thinking maybe she won't go out today in this storm.
No,
might have taken a
I
step
am
when I
concerned.
heard the muffled sound of the door closing. I turned around and saw the screen. There she was, Miss Voorhees, dressed in her same pink raincoat, holding the cane in
But
her hand.
it's really her.
What a bitch, I said to myself, and went to bed after switching off the light. Since that night, a few changes took place in my daily life. The sounds of argument and fight reduced slowly. Miss Voorhees stopped behaving like a cruel witch that she was all of a sudden. Every evening, she went for a walk wearing that raincoat and
you're not
without
concerned.
screaming at Judy. Judy's face also lit up as her life finally sunk into harmony. One time I met her in the hallway and she smiled at me. That was the first time I saw her smiling. Don't know why, it felt a bit creepy. Her wide eyes, surrounded by dark circles, sparkled as she showcased her pale white teeth. "Hello, Samuel." "Hi, Judy."
What
"How
did
are
I ever
you?"
do to her?
"I'm good. Finally good after a long time." I had a talk with Ma. Told her she needs to cut me some slack if we're going to live under the same roof. Luckily, she agreed. "Oh, I'm happy for you." Let me know if you need anything. She walked away with a smile, and I went on my way. Days went by, and I couldn't help but think how Miss Voorhees became this calm, quiet person all of a sudden. Every time I watched her going for her walk, I wondered, what could bring this change to her? I would have wondered this if not one day I barged inside their apartment. It was a Saturday afternoon, and I saw Judy leaving in the morning. I was making my lunch when I heard the smoke alarm go off in her apartment. I rushed to her door and started banging on it. I rang the doorbell, calling out Miss Voorhees' name several times, but she didn't open the door. Hearing my scream and the alarm, the landlord and 2 other tenants came to my door.
What exactly happened?
We all thought the old woman must have fainted in the smoke, so without giving much thought, we broke the door and entered the apartment. A tea kettle was placed on the stove, and somehow Judy forgot to turn off the heat. The smoke from it made the alarm go off like crazy. We brought the situation under control and started to look for Miss Voorhees. As soon as we opened the bedroom door, all of our hearts skipped a beat. Miss Voorhees' upper body was lying on an armchair. Her throat was slit open, and she had been dead for quite a while now.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy!
Was missing. It was a horrible sight to witness for any human being. The reeking smell of her rotten body, where maggots.
That's never good. That could cause a fire.
I rushed to an apartment and vomited in the sink. The smell was unbearable. Our landlord called the cops and arrested Judy from the nearby grocery shop. It scared me to sleep when I realized that rainy night her tolerance limit gave up and she murdered her monster mother. She knew very well about my installation of a doorbell camera. She couldn't get rid of the corpse directly as my camera will record the footage, so she came up with a more sinister plan. Every night she started to chop off a certain amount of her flesh and, dressing up as Miss Voorhees, went out to get rid of it. That's why I could never see her face. All this time, it was Judy taking away her dead mother's body parts, pretending to be her. Everything was going according to her plan. She had her perfect alibi. That was my doorbell camera footage to prove that she was Miss Voorhees, when in reality, her corpse was rotting inside her bed.
Oh!
I was there in the courtroom when the judge sentenced her
Oh!
for the murder of her mother. She stood in the room silently the entire time. When the cops came to take her away, she looked at me and said, "You know what, Samuel? I should have eaten her."
Oh! Look at her face, though.
I should have eaten her up right away.
Ah!
Hey guys, I see many of you commenting on my videos that this channel deserves 1 million subscribers. But I also see the percent of people who watch my videos aren't actually subscribed to the channel. So, if you like the content, want to support my channel, and want to see this channel reach 1 million subscribers, or maybe 500,000 subscribers, then go ahead, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. It's free, and you can always change your mind later.
My parents were abusive to me growing up. My father was the traditional sort who believed girls like me could be treated like parents' property. I moved out of the house as soon as I turned 18 and moved in with my boyfriend, Tom, who I had to date in secret while I was with my parents. I lived with Tom in his house for a while. During that time, I ended up getting my own job and making a decent amount of money from it. While he wasn't abusive like my father
Alright,
was,
story 2.
he seemed to worry about me focusing on my career as much as I did. Tom and I broke up after about 2 years of living together. I moved out of his house when we did, though
Oh
we
my
parted on good
God,
terms, and I
no!
continued to text him
No,
regularly as a
no!
friend. I managed to
Good for
score
you.
myself a pretty sweet deal,
Good for you.
renting a small house in a relatively
Ding
safe
ding
neighborhood.
ding. Okay.
Sure, the place was a little worse for wear, but I wasn't picky. Tom even came over to help
There's
me
a plug
clean
for
up
that.
and move my stuff. It rained heavily on the first night at my new house, so Tom ended up staying over, waiting for the rain to stop. We watched hilariously bad movies on the couch with a bag of popcorn, just like old times. I almost regret
Oh, that's
breaking up with him.
good. That's good.
He was one of the few people I trusted enough to talk about my familial problems with. But while it pained me to leave him, I wasn't about to give up my aspirations for a guy, no matter how cute. Hey,
That's
Stacy,
good
are you
for.
sure you'll be
That's
all
good
right
of
alone?
fam.
I'll be fine,
That's
Tom.
good of fam.
You know I'm a tough guy.
That's what true friends do.
I know. I can't help but worry, though. Your parents have been looking for you again. Has he contacted you? I think he's been contacting everyone you knew in high school through Facebook. Good thing I deleted my Facebook account then. Does he know about us? Or my new place? I hope not. I didn't tell him anything, but some of our former classmates might have. So just stay safe. All right, Stacy? I will, Tom. I will. It was a little unsettling to know that my dad was getting back on my trail, but I thought I'd be fine as long as I didn't advertise myself on social media that I didn't use anyways. That mindset lasted for about a week.
Who is this guy
I was just
then?
getting used to my daily routine. Getting up around 7, arrive at work around 9 in the morning, leave at 5 in the afternoon, and return home around 6 or 7. Rinse and
Wow.
repeat. It might seem boring for some, but I found comfort in the predictability it provided me. Until one day, I came back home to my house and found an unstamped envelope in my mailbox. Without a stamp on it, I knew whoever sent it to me must have done it by hand instead of through the mail. I initially thought it must have been an advertisement for something being handed out at random. So I opened the envelope expecting to be convinced to buy something.
Why did
didn't
I
need.
get me?
Instead, I found a piece of paper with a single scratchy sentence written on it with black Sharpie. I know where you live, Stacy. After what Tom had told me about my father, I immediately freaked the fuck out. I checked the door and thankfully found it still locked. When I was sure no one had broken in, I rushed inside, locked the door, and ran into my room. I called the police to report the letter, and while I waited for them to arrive, I gave Tom a call to tell him what had just happened. He listened to me being a blubbering mess with the patience of a saint, gently reassuring me whenever I got too hysterical. After 2 years of being with me, he'd gotten good at calming me down whenever I had nervous breakdowns over my past.
That
When
is
the police
not
arrived,
good.
They checked the letter in my mail and promptly told me
Exactly.
I couldn't do anything since no major crime has been committed and I had no evidence that
That's
I wasn't the one
good.
who put the letter there in the first place. Of course, I was pissed at that answer, but the lazy police officers responded to my protests with only apathy. Their bored faces told me
That
they
is
just wanted to
really
get away
smart.
from me as quickly as possible.
No, that's smart.
Once they left to go snack on donuts or whatever the hell my taxpayer money was paying them for, I locked myself in my room and called Tom to vent about the whole situation. Again, he listened to me ramble on about how pissed off I was until I calmed down enough to think rationally. I suggested that I should buy a new Ring camera for my door, so that if whoever left the note decided to come back, I'd have some evidence to present to the police.
Seriously, they could
He
straight
agreed
track
and
it.
even helped me pick out a decent Ring camera at the store the next day after work. I drew the line when he offered to help me install it at home, though. We were still broken up.
Exactly,
and I decided
they
to
don't
learn how to
care.
take care of myself anyways.
That
It
is
took me way longer than it
BS.
should have, but I managed to install the Ring camera for my front door and link it to my phone the day I bought it. Not gonna lie, I was pretty proud of myself. I went to bed that night feeling safer. 3 days later, and I had almost forgotten about the letter in the mail. I managed to convince myself that it was just a random prank and that it only had my name on it because Stacy, coincidentally, also was a slang term for a woman in general. But as I was working in my cubicle at my office job, I suddenly got a notification from my phone. At first, I thought I got a text from Tom and eagerly checked it. Instead, I was notified that my Ring camera had caught someone standing at my door. I felt my body temperature drop, but I couldn't just ignore it. I tapped to see the live feed on my Ring camera and let out a shrill scream at what I saw. My phone dropped to the ground and I stumbled backwards while hyperventilating.
It probably
My father was a
was.
cruel man.
It probably was a
He'd beat me
prank.
whenever I
Fuck
did something
Simpson.
he didn't like, and if he felt like I was being especially bad, he'd put on a twisted clown mask to scare me to death while beating me to death too. The visage of that damn mask
That's
with its mocking
concerning.
grin has been burned into my mind. And standing before my front door, captured clearly by the Ring camera, was a man wearing that exact same twisted clown mask. Seeing it again after 2 years away from my sadistic father's clutches, I felt like a little kid about to be punished by his hands again. Everyone at the office stopped what they were doing to stare at me. My logical brain told me that there was nothing to be afraid of because I wasn't there with that masked man in person, but my body just wouldn't listen. I finally snapped out of my trance when I saw the masked man leave my front door. But by that time, my boss had to come to tell me to take the day off because I was in no state to be working. He was right, but I didn't want to go home yet either. I ended up calling Tom and staying over at his place for the night. He was nothing but understanding and assured me that I'd be okay. Long story short, we hooked up and we got back together. When I woke up the next morning, I found a note on the nightstand from Tom saying that he was out for work and that breakfast was on the table. He
Oh
really was.
my lord, I hot
As
right
I
now.
ate the bacon and eggs he left on the dining room table for me, I thought of a way to repay him for all he's done for me. Tom was always bad with laundry while we were dating, so I decided that washing and ironing all his smelly clothes for him would be a good way to show him my appreciation. But as I was sorting out his dark and light clothes for the washer, I found something that would shatter everything I thought I knew about him forever.
Let's go!
Because
Let's
hidden
go!
amongst his clothes in the laundry
Good for
basket
her.
was a mask. The exact same type of mask worn by my father when he beat me,
Yeah,
and
he
by
is.
the man caught on my Ring camera just a day ago. I am 99% sure that everyone in this world is battling with a deep secret in one way or another.
Yeah.
Some of us more than others. But unfortunately, for me, the
What?
dark secret that I kept ate at my
What?
soul for over
What is
15
it?
years. As I would lay,
Ah!
sitting awake and wishing that I could throw my conscience away. But like every other person, I learned to live with it. And I kept it buried away from everyone. But as they say, karma is a bitch. And little did I know that she had an adamant intent on revealing my
Dear
dark secret
Lord.
to everyone. I was 27 years old at the time of this incident. I was working a normal 9-to-5 job, and I really didn't have any problems in my life. Well, that was till one fateful Tuesday night. I had laid down to go to sleep after a long day of work, and at exactly 12 a.m., I was abruptly awoken by the sound of my Ring camera's motion alarm. This has happened a while back, and I remember going outside to see some stray cats on my porch. I thought the same was happening again, so I ignored it and went back to sleep. The next morning, before I went to work, I decided to be on the safe side, so I poured myself a cup of coffee and I began to check out the Ring camera's footage. I told myself it was nothing, as I fast-forwarded through the hours leading up to 12 a.m., but as soon as the video hit 12, I saw a woman walk up to my porch. She had red, puffy eyes, and she looked directly at the Ring camera with a death stare. While her face was contorted in anger, she was smiling from ear to ear. Now, immediately when I saw the woman, I felt my stomach clench as I threw up the coffee that I had drank. When I was done, I began
That
to
is
back
seriously
away from the
bright.
laptop, saying,
Ow.
"No, no, no." It felt like I was suffocating as the room began to close around me. I laid on the floor trying to catch my breath and calm down. Now, I wasn't acting like this because a random woman walked up to my doorstep and started staring at my Ring camera. No, I was acting like
Oh.
this. I knew the woman who
She
appeared
looks
in the
like the
video.
Grinch.
Her name was Olivia Cole. And the reason why I was trembling was because Olivia had been dead for over 15 years. I was pretty sure of this because I watched her die. It happened when I was in the 7th grade. I was 12 at the time, and Olivia was my best friend. It was after school, and we were playing on an old monkey bar on the playground. Olivia was playing dangerously at the edge of the monkey bar, but I didn't say anything as she was having fun. But in the following 2 minutes, I would regret that decision as I watched her lose her footing and fall to the concrete floor. The sound of her skull cracking
he
as it
knew
connected
her.
with the floor is something that I still hear every time I go to sleep at night.
What?
The incident gave me a lasting trauma as I had to see a lot of therapy.
Oh my god.
After the horrific accident, Olivia and her family moved away and I hadn't heard anything about them. But now, over 15 years later, I'm apparently seeing someone who looks exactly like their dead daughter at my doorstep. I called in sick to work that day as the incident shook
You
me
should
to the core.
have said something.
That night, I laid awake in my bed as I was too scared
Oh,
to sleep.
oh yes!
At exactly 12 a.m., the ring
Ah!
began to blare like crazy. I froze from the sound of the alarm as my body was paralyzed.
Ah!
The alarm stopped after an hour, and I was
Ah!
completely drenched in sweat.
Ah!
I made my way to the living room, and I checked the ring camera's footage. Once the timestamp hit 12 a.m., just like the night before, I saw her walk up to the
Yo,
door and
Lord!
stare at the camera. This time, she looked directly at it and said, "I know what you did." She began to repeat the line over and over again as she kept staring at the camera. The footage
I
was
don't blame
terrifying
you.
as I felt my heart sink. I realized that I was at a block road as I knew I couldn't call the cops. There was no way to call and tell me that the spirit of my dead best friend
Lord.
was stalking me at night. I also couldn't tell any one of my friends, as I knew that they'd all look at me like I was crazy. I was alone in this, and I finally came to the resolution that for the sake of my sanity, I had to deal with it myself. I stayed awake that night after that, waiting. I held a metal pipe in my right hand and a Bible in my left as I told myself that I wanted to cover all bases. I watched the live footage in my room till it was 11:59 p.m. And by 12 a.m., I saw her walk up to the door. She stood there for about 5 minutes before she brought out a pen to pick my lock. Seeing that
They
made me
wouldn't believe
reconsider
that.
a lot of things, as I knew that if she was a restless spirit, she wouldn't be hindered by a door. After a few minutes, my lock eventually came loose, and I heard the door creak open behind me. Not knowing that she was a human being, I held the metal pipe tight in my hand as I heard her footsteps in the dark living room. The woman who I
Oh,
assumed
dear
was Olivia
Lord.
then said, "I know what you did. I saw you. I saw everything that happened." Without thinking, I rushed towards her with the metal pipe, and I swung the weapon at her. She managed to dodge the blow as she immediately reciprocated the attack by slapping me across the face. We began to struggle for a while before I managed to push her off me. Having gotten another opening, I swung the pipe at her leg, and the woman fell to the floor screaming.
Yeah.
I immediately
Oh
raised the
no.
pipe above my head to deal the
Oh
final blow,
no.
and that's when the woman screamed out, "Are you gonna kill me the same way you killed Olivia?"
Ah.
And before I could do anything, the cops had entered into the house. Apparently, my neighbor had called in a noise complaint, and me and the woman were taken to the station for questioning. When we got there, they questioned the woman before questioning me. They asked me what happened, and I told them the whole story. The police officer then said, "The woman who broke into your house claimed you killed her cousin Olivia Cole, and she said this was her main motive behind what she did. Is this true?" I hesitated before answering. "She's
Break
lying.
your
She's just a
ankles.
psycho who stalked me for the last 3 nights. As I told you earlier, Olivia was an old best friend who died in an incident. That woman is crazy." The cop then said, "Okay, ma'am, we're sorry for the baseless accusations.
What?
Lock up the woman for breaking into your house immediately." As they took her away, I watched the woman who was now crying, screaming at me saying, "Are you really going to keep lying? I watched you kill her and pass it off as an accident. You killed my cousin, and she was like a sister to me. Tell the truth. Tell the truth." I couldn't keep it in any longer as I screamed, "I did it. Yes, I did it." The cops stopped taking her away as they all began to listen to me. And for the first time in 15 years, I began to scream out the secret that had been a huge weight on my chest. I was just a kid. I didn't like how Olivia was spending time and making friends with the other girls in the 7th grade. I was angry, so I decided to hurt her just a little. That's why I pushed her down from the monkey bars. I really didn't want her to die, but she did. I was scared, so I lied. I killed her. I killed Olivia Cole when I was 12 years old. I broke down crying after the confession. The cops who just heard me confess to a 15-year-old murder walked up to me and put me in handcuffs. After a while, when my lawyer arrived, I found out that the woman who was stalking me—
Oh my
was
God.
She was the cousin of Olivia, and they looked completely alike. Apparently, she had come to get Olivia with her aunt from school that day, and she saw me push her cousin to her death. She said she didn't say anything, as she too was also dealing with the trauma, and after 15 years, she felt that the only way to be at peace was to get justice and revenge. So knowing she looked like Olivia, she decided to track me down and make me pay for what I did by messing with my sanity. This incident happened over 2 months ago. As the case is a peculiar one, it's still on.
Wow, what a twist!
While I know the probability of me going to prison is there, I have never felt so free in my life. As for the first time in 15 years, I can finally sleep peacefully.
Wow, that was a twist indeed. Wow! Wow! Okay. Wow! Holy moly! Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that. And if you want to see some more, you know what to do. Hit that notification bell to be updated on every upload I upload. And as always guys, Astro, blast that like button. And keep chillaxing, relaxing, and don't stop believing. And most of all, I love all of you. Oh, and one more thing. Shout out to I Am All Scary Tales. Go and subscribe to them to help them out.